Yes, it's July, and yes, we are doing a 2024 rookie mock draft. 24 picks over 2 rounds, Superflex, tight end premium. It's going to give you an idea of the strength of the 2024 class. It's going to give you an idea of some of the key players that you're going to want to keep an eye on during the 2023 college football season. My name is Matt Hicks, the FF Educator, and I am joined by my buddy Anthony Corrente for this mock draft. Anthony is of the Dynasty Drive, of course, the Rookie Big Board, and also putting out some great content on Fantasy Pros as well. Anthony, thanks for joining me for this mock draft exercise.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, if you're not doing 2024 rookie mocks in July, what are you doing? I mean, come
What
on.
are you
What
doing?
what could be better than this?
If you're not doing a 2024 rookie mock draft right now, go outside and touch grass, okay?
Yeah,
Because you got to
seriously.
live the life. And let's start with the guy who's living the life right now. Listen, no surprise, we're not getting cute here. 101 again in a Superflex tight end premium rookie mock draft. It's Caleb Williams out of USC. Man, I just logged the Caleb Williams report today, my summer scouting evaluation. And Anthony, you go in watching the tape and you expect, because of all this live watch, you expect to get a really awesome prospect. And that's what I got, man. The word that kept coming to mind as I was watching Caleb Williams' game is it looks natural, dude. It looks effortless. He can throw the ball at all 3 levels of the field. He can throw the ball on the run. He's got great athleticism. We're going to be talking about Caleb Williams in the same vein as we were talking about Trevor Lawrence, except Caleb Williams is a better pure athlete from a fantasy football rushing perspective here, man. So it's a no-brainer, 101. Obviously, Ant, you got the 102 here. You're going to tell us who you're taking, but it's a no-brainer at 101 for Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah, Caleb Williams is the 101 unless something catastrophic happens in Superflex tight end premium rookie drafts. I agree what you said, and it's a lot of what I thought about Bryce Young this past year too. Like they both just look like they should be passers of the football at the next level. Like he makes everything look very, very easy. So I'm in with the chalk Caleb Williams pick at number 102. I took Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver from Ohio State, and not really a knock against any other player that could be available at this spot. More a testament to how good I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is. He's a super nuanced route runner. He's got all the traits. I hope we don't get to the point where we start to poke holes in like, well, he doesn't have enough long speed. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an elite wide receiver prospect. After just going through a year where everybody nitpicked and said we didn't have a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase caliber prospect, here he is. Like this is your Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase caliber prospect. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a pick for me at 102.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. And I think we're going to get comments here, and we welcome the comments. Drop them for sure, and we'll get back and reply to them. By the way, when I reply in the comments, I do it under the Rookie Big Board name because that's my main channel that I do. So feel free to engage with me. Also, sub over at the Rookie Big Board YouTube page. I think we're going to get comments here because it is a super flex mock draft and we didn't take a quarterback at 102. But I'm telling you, Ant, I would have taken Marvin Harrison Jr. 102 as well. He is a really next level, like he's pro ready already at this point. And we've seen over the past couple of years the ability for a wide receiver to contribute right away in year one from a fantasy football perspective. So I'm a big fan of Marvin Harrison Jr. His athleticism, his catch radius is ridiculous. He's a good route runner as well. He's polished. He's crisp, man. You can't underestimate how important it is to have the reliable hands that he does. He's able to pull in balls on target, off target. But at 103 here, I'm going to go with Drake Maye, the quarterback out of UNC. And I got to say, doing Drake Maye's summer scouting evaluation, there's things that I like about Drake Maye for sure. And he's got the tools, but I will put a little bit of caveat here, man. I need to see Drake Maye put it together. I'm still going to take him 103 because ultimately I think this is where he gets to. I think he's going to put it together. But he's got a big arm. He has good mobility as well, which we love from fantasy football. And we've seen him absolutely produce and command the offense, right away as a starter in the 2022 season, his first year. But man, we got to get those mechanics down. That footwork is sloppy from Drake Maye. There is a new offensive coordinator coming in. I expect him to get coached up there at UNC. We got to get those mechanics underway to lock down that, top 10, top 15 NFL draft capital, which is what I'm expecting to see from Maye. But I think once we get there, we'll lock him in here at 103. Again, super flex format. 104, Ant, who you got?
104, I took TreVeyon Henderson, the running back from Ohio State. I promise I'm not just taking all Ohio State players in this draft, but I think TreVeyon Henderson to me it's like the tale of two seasons. It's, do you think he's the freshman runner who popped for over 1,200 yards on the ground and had 300 receiving yards, or the guy who looked a little more hesitant last year? I kind of side with, I think the injury that he dealt with last season really held him back when he was out there at times. I think he's closer to what we saw as a freshman. I think he gets back on track this year with a big statistical season. And I think he's kind of tailor-made for the NFL right now. We already saw him contribute as a receiver as a freshman. Over 300 yards as a freshman was awesome. We know what he could do as a runner. I think he could be a true 3-down back at the next level. It's tough for me to let him go out of the top 4 picks right now in Superflex rookie drafts.
Yeah, he's a really interesting player. I think you could justify him going here 104. Absolutely. I think you could justify him going 108, depending on how the board fell and preferences went. So this is somebody who, if you're flipping on the TV, and this is one of the reasons I want to do this exercise, right? So if you are prepping for college football season, dude, we're like 50 days away. We are so close. I'm absolutely thrilled for it. But think about, Saturday, you're flipping around the channels. You're not sure who to watch, what to watch. When you put on the Ohio State game, it's going to be tempting to get pulled into the wide receivers there on the outside between Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. But pay attention to TreVeyon Henderson, because it is going to be interesting to see stylistically how he's used by the Buckeyes this year. And I think that's going to kind of influence, just how high his draft capital is. I think it's going to be crucial for his fantasy football value for him to get top 50 NFL draft capital. And as of today, I don't think he's there yet skill-wise, but he certainly can play his way into that. 104 here, or 105, sorry, is going to be Brock Bowers for me, the tight end out of Georgia. Now, this is tight end premium. I got to be honest, I would have taken him 104, and I think there's an argument to be made even 103, because Brock Bowers, man, he is the real deal. I've said it once, I'll get roasted for it again. He's everything you wanted Kyle Pitts to be. He's an offensive weapon, dude. Clean hands. He has the ability to work through traffic over the middle of the field, contested catch monster. And guess what, guys? He had 9 rushes. He had multiple rushing touchdowns for Georgia last year. We're talking about somebody coming in at 6'4", 230. He's a really nice size. He carries that weight really well. And he is a legitimate yards after catch guy. He's tenacious with the ball, but he can actually get up to speed well for somebody who's 230 as well. I love his ball tracking ability. I love his ability to be an absolute weapon. Let's be clear here. The Georgia offense ran through Brock Bowers first and foremost, all right? And this is a team that's not known for passing. It's a team that's known for running through their running backs first, second, and third. But that offense last year, a big reason that they were back-to-back national champions is because of Brock Bowers. He's an absolute mismatch. NFL front offices, scouting departments, head coaches are going to love Brock Bowers. I'm saying it right now, dude. Don't be shocked if he's a top 10 selection in the 2024 NFL draft. And you know if he's a top 10 selection, he's a locked in top 5 fantasy football pick.
Yeah, I think both of those things will happen. I honestly, I think it, like I don't want to say the hype, but like it'll catch up eventually, because Brock Bowers right now might be a better prospect than Kyle Pitts was, post scouting combine. People aren't ready to out loud be there yet, but there's a real chance. I agree. I think he will go in the top 10 of the 2024 NFL draft. And if he does, yeah, it's wheels up for fantasy. He's a monster. To kick off best of the rest at 106, I took Braelon Allen, the running back from Wisconsin. I love this guy. I really do. He is he's such a Wisconsin running back, right? Like, what you're going to get. Big, powerful guy. Going to get you double-digit touchdowns, going to, just ho-hum, run his way to 1,200 yards. But I think that he offers more that we haven't seen in terms of being a receiver. I hope we can see a little bit more of it this year, but I think it could be similar to like when Ramondre Stevenson was coming out, and I was like, this is a bigger guy that can offer more from a pass catching profile. He just hasn't really been asked to do it a ton yet. I think it could be the same thing with Braelon Allen. And if he can find his way to like a real 3-down role at the next level, he's going to be an absolute battering ram. And if he's out there on 3rd down, also catching passes, the fantasy football value he'll have is through the roof. So I'll take Braelon Allen at 106.
Love that pick, man. Analytics folks are going to love that pick. Back to back 1,000-yard seasons in his first 2 years in college. And what's cool about Braelon Allen is now Wisconsin is switching to an air raid style offense this year. So we're going to get to see, they're still going to be run focused. So we're going to get to see him play in a totally different style, and it's going to show his versatility for NFL front offices. 107 here, Malik Nabers out of LSU. One of the key takeaways so far, I've logged about 16 summer scouting evaluations. And by the way, if you want to see all those, you can head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard, giving an in-depth view on these prospects. And so one of my biggest takeaways at this point in time, Malik Nabers is a dude in this class. Now, it's clearly Marvin Harrison Jr. in a tier of his own. But for me, next up right now, Malik Nabers, explosive. I love the way this man can cut a slant. You know, Ant, that I love my wide receivers that can cut a slant, but he's really crisp through his routes. He's got sticky hands. He's got great athleticism. He closes space quickly with his speed, accelerates well along the boundary. Dude, he is the perfect flanker wide receiver in an NFL offense. You put him opposite of somebody pulling top coverage, and he gets like 120 targets a game, dude. He can be an absolute wide receiver 1 at the next level for fantasy football purposes. And what's super exciting is I think he still has a ton of room to develop. So I think we're looking at another guy that has a real shot at being a first-round NFL draft pick.
108. This is the one pick I think I made with the least conviction, but I'm sticking with it for now. I took Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas. Look, I'm buying the bounce back right now. I think we get the season that we've all kind of been looking for and hoping for out of Ewers this year at Texas. I think Steve Sarkisian gets him back on track. I think things were going pretty well till he got hurt in that Alabama game, and then it just was never really the same after that. I'm still hanging on to how good of a like a recruit he was, how good of a prospect he was, and kind of still is at this point. I think he'll start to put it together this year. I think he'll have a big season and declare and kind of move his way back up fantasy rankings here. So in Superflex, it wouldn't shock me, if he has a big year, if he ends up going a spot or two higher than this, but if he has a big year, he's not making it out of the first round.
A nice upside selection there with Quinn Ewers. I'm going to go with a little bit of a floor selection in Raheim Rocket Sanders. We talked about part of this exercise is making sure players to tune in and watch, right? When you're flipping around the channels, you might not be thinking about flipping on Arkansas as your first choice, right? When you're deciding which game to watch, but you're going to want to watch the Razorbacks, man. And part of it is because of Rocket Sanders. This man explodes off the line of scrimmage, gets into the second level of the field quickly. Excellent contact balance, dude. He's a big guy, 6'2", 225, but he has awesome acceleration as well. Great change of direction ability, can really make a guy miss in a phone booth. There's a ton to like about his power running style combined with great explosiveness. He right now, Anthony, is actually sitting atop the running backs. It's very close, but for me right now, he is running back 1. So to get him at 109, dude, that's a pretty solid value, and I'm pretty happy about that.
110, I'm keeping it with the running backs. I'm taking Will Shipley, the running back from Clemson. Another guy that I think is kind of tailor-made for the NFL right now, gives you some of that dual threat. He's a real natural kind of receiver. He looks comfortable doing it, and I love not having to make that huge projection of, well, he wasn't asked to catch passes in college, but can he do it at the next level? Like, Will Shipley's going to catch passes. He's an explosive runner. My only concern right now is I think right now he's listed like 5'11", 200 pounds. I'd like to see him weigh a little bit more than that. I just don't want to fall into the trap of, well, Jahmyr Gibbs weighed 199 pounds. So, every running back that size will be fine. I don't think Will Shipley's Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think kind of in that same mold, but Dollar General version, or Dollar Tree Jahmyr Gibbs is Will Shipley.
All right, 111 here. I'm gonna save Anthony from taking the full Ohio State sweep, and I'm gonna take Emeka Egbuka at 111, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Egbuka coming in here at 6'1", 203, and I definitely think there's some folks that would have thought his name would have been called a little bit earlier. Now, I want to be clear. I like Egbuka. I like his athleticism. I like his dynamic play style. I like his quickness, dude. He's sneaky fast. I think he releases well off the line of scrimmage, but I do think his hype is a little bit of projection at this point still. I want to see him refine his route running. I want to see him utilized more in the deep field. I noticed Ohio State was really honing in on him in the short field, and I understand that there's Marvin Harrison Jr. and he's going to be a priority in the deep field. But I do need to see a little bit more route wise from Emeka Egbuka going through this season. Nonetheless, dude, even as a projection pick, it's going to be 111. Now, our Michigan fans have to be on full tilt because we've taken three Buckeyes and no Wolverines, but we're gonna remedy that here with these next two picks, starting with your selection here at 112, the final in the first round.
Last pick of the first round, I took Donovan Edwards, the running back from Michigan. This is the running back from Michigan, to be clear. So, I like the other Michigan running back. He probably comes up a little bit later. But Donovan Edwards is it, man. He's big. He's fast. He is a good receiver. He really is. He's the kind of catalyst in this running back group for me. Like you said, you have Rocket Sanders, running back one right now. It really wouldn't shock me if after college football season, and Donovan Edwards is RB1 or really pushing for it camp. I love the ceiling he has. And I think if Corum didn't come back this year, the numbers could have been absolutely bonkers. With both of them there, I still think Edwards ends up being kind of like the de facto one this year. I think he's too good and too dynamic to not at this point. But if Corum wasn't there, the numbers would have been absolute video game numbers for Edwards this season. I think he is really the bee's knees.
But hey, have 201 Superflex, right? JJ McCarthy. I think there's a ton of upside for JJ McCarthy. And I understand, folks, we could clip this, we can run this back in 6 months, and you could do it in a positive or a negative light, depending on which way this goes. But I feel like I'm pushing the JJ McCarthy train right now. I think he's got a really balanced dual skill set here. And that's a pretty, that's a pretty important trait to have when the NFL is looking at you. But I love McCarthy's mobility. I love his ability to improvise when the play breaks down. He has good field vision. He's fast, man. He's like a legit 4-5 type guy. And he can throw the ball. I know there's folks that are knocking his deep field passing ability. And yes, I do think he needs to develop that. But JJ McCarthy, if you think about it, man, he didn't go into last season as the starting quarterback. He was splitting reps for that job. He ended up winning it in week 3 last year. And Michigan did not really let him throw the ball. That just wasn't their priority because we just mentioned Donovan Edwards, Blake Corum, man. Once they unleashed him deep last year or late last year, you really saw some really great flashes and upside. So I'm expecting a big leap forward here for JJ McCarthy. I want to see that arm strength continue to develop, and I really think it will. I'm really excited to see what he's able to put together here for this upcoming season. 202, who you got?
202, I took Xavier Worthy, the Texas wide receiver. Again, it's like the tale of two players, freshman year and sophomore year. Almost 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns as a freshman. Just gets 760 and 9 touchdowns a year ago. And speed kills, right? The NFL covets speed. We do this every year. Even if he just does what he's done the past 2 years and average somewhere between 750 and 1,000, he's probably a top 50 pick, honestly. He can get deep. He can get vertical. The NFL craves speed in spades. It's like every year we see it where a player is overdrafted or drafted higher than we think he's going to be because he can win on 9 routes and beat, man coverage deep. So even if that's his full role, and I don't think it is, I think he's better than that and can be the player that we all really, really bought into freshman year. 202 could be a steal. He's a guy that could work his way up and back into the first round talk.
Certainly worthy of that selection.
Oh, and that's going to do it, folks.
That's all, folks.
203 here. Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon. All right, Franklin's listed here at 6'2", 170. If he was listed at 6'2", 190, we'd be taking him as a top 7 pick. We'd be talking way more about Troy Franklin. This dude is good, all right? And I want to just emphasize, he's good, man. He wins along the boundary. He wins over the middle of the field. He wins with great body positioning, right? And he wins with excellent hands, a large catch radius. All of these things really do help offset the size. He doesn't play like he's 170, all right? He's able to really win, create space against defensive backs. I love his hands. I think I already said it, but I love his speed. I love his quickness moving east and west, as well as his explosiveness working north to south. He's got really convincing body movements through his routes. He has good footwork through his routes. That helps him create space consistently. And when you're a smaller receiver, you need to be able to do all those things. He checks all the boxes, man. And if we are legitimately getting Troy Franklin at 203 in next year's class, that means that we have a really strong group of incoming rookies to play with. And I really think that's what we're working with right now. And you're going to have another good pick because there's a ton of guys to still choose from here, Anthony, at 204.
Yeah, there really is. Like 2024 will be a fun class. At 204, I took Devin Neal, a running back from Kansas. He's a player I really like in space. Another guy who I think has some natural ability as a pass catcher. He's got really good vision. He is Kansas to me. Like, again, like we talked about with Rocket Sanders, you might not be, scrambling to go put on the Kansas game to watch for players that are heading to the NFL. Devin Neal's one that you want to tune into. He's a player that has juice, can offer something in the receiving game, and can really make people pay in the open field. And kind of in a pretty crowded running back class right now. Like nobody's really established themselves one way or another, aside from, the hype that's been behind TreVeyon Henderson. Neal's a guy that could make some noise for himself with a big year this year.
Yeah, I like Neal a lot there. It's a good selection at 204. 205, tight end premium format. I'm going TreVeyon Sanders. This is really going to be the next tight end up. It's Brock Bowers, boom, tier of his own. And then for me, the best tight end other than Brock Bowers right now is TreVeyon Sanders. He's out of Texas. He's coming in at 6'4", 249. He definitely has that athletic mold. I don't think if you looked at his frame, you would really think he was 249. I think he looks like he's closer to 230, 235. He's a fluid runner. He works through his routes really well. He's comfortable navigating across the field, and he's a really smooth athlete in the way that he's able to navigate. Texas did line him up all over the field, out wide, in line as an H-back. They gave him the ball at the line of scrimmage often. They also were able to work him through the post, work him on comeback routes. They definitely utilized him in the red zone, so he had really good production there, which we always love to see. I think he's going to go to the combine and test well. I think there's a lot of things working in TreVeyon Sanders' favor, especially, he's checking all the fantasy football boxes. So in a premium format here, 205, definitely good with that pick.
206, I took Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington. I think I might like him a little more than you might like him right now. That's fair. But middle of the second round, a guy who's a bigger receiver that still looks to have enough juice to win as a downfield threat as well. There's definitely some refinement he needs to show in his game. He's not a total put together prospect, but he should have big numbers again. This is kind of the right spot for him where you're betting a little bit on traits and a player that's probably benefiting a little bit from scheme and hoping that he tests well in the future.
207, Joe Milton, quarterback out of Tennessee. Absolutely hate myself for doing it. I do. But it's super flex. Milton, if he puts it all together, and that is a big if, he's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. If he puts it all together. The dude has the rocketiest arm. It's not a word, but he has the rocketiest arm I've ever seen. He's going to be able to throw the ball 70 yards. The problem is that he sometimes can't throw the ball 15 yards, at least not accurately, right? But he's mobile. He's big. He's got a big frame to him. So, between the arm, the mobility, and the frame, dude, he doesn't necessarily need to do all that much to end up a first-round draft pick. And he's in Josh Heupel's Tennessee offense, which is going to be QB-friendly. It's going to hide some flaws. So at 207 in a super flex, I couldn't not take him here. But that's definitely as much as I want to talk about him. So 208, back to you.
208, I'm taking the other half of the Michigan running back room. Blake Corum, the running back from Michigan. We kind of alluded to him a little bit earlier, discussed him briefly. He's been productive. He's a good runner. He runs bigger than his size. He's listed 5'8", 200 pounds. I think he's an NFL player. I just think he's probably a complimentary player at best. I don't think he's ever going to get, a full workload. I think he's kind of Michael Carter, probably a better version of Michael Carter. But I think he's somebody that'll always kind of be relegated to half of a committee. But a good player who's, got some injury concerns and miles getting racked up on him. But I'll take a gamble back half of round 2.
209, Keon Coleman, wide receiver out of Florida State. This is a projection pick. Great production at Michigan State, transfers to Florida State. Going to get a lot of primetime action. That offense should be good. Want to see him be able to stretch the field, put that frame on display along the boundary, be a contested catch type guy. Let's show off that athleticism. So just like Milton at 207, at 209, it's going to be another projection pick, and that's kind of what we're leaning into here. Again, really just making sure we talk about guys that you want on your radar. And if you're flipping on Florida State, definitely going to be wanting to pay attention to Keon Coleman on the outside, playing along the boundary there.
210, my selection is, you might have heard the name before. It feels like he's been around forever at this point, but Oregon quarterback, Bo Nix. Bo Nix, last year, I'm not to the point yet where I could shake off the Auburn Bo Nix, right? Like I need another year of Oregon Bo Nix to be like, okay, maybe we're onto something. But last year was good. I mean, he threw for 3,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, only 7 picks. In the 3 years prior at Auburn, he never threw more than 16 touchdowns, and it went down every season from there, 16, 12, and 11. So, it looks like he's turned a little bit of a corner. Obviously, he'll be an older prospect than some of the other quarterbacks. But hey, late in round 2, if Bo Nix has truly figured it out, it's worth a shot here.
All right, my final selection here, 211, Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State. So finishing it up with 2 Knowles for you. Listen, I did the Benson summer scouting evaluation. He's got a lot of hype out there, so I wanted to talk about him on this episode, and I wanted to, make sure I got my eyes on him. Powerful downhill runner. I see the explosiveness. I see the burst at times. I see the lower body strength, so I know why folks are excited about him. I like the scrappiness. I like his ability to run off tackle. But I do want to point out, this is a projection pick here. Spotty vision, indecisive, with, wanting to hit the hole, doesn't really create his own space, lacks that downfield acceleration. I'm not sure how he's going to look in testing, but the other side of this is we really only have 150 career carries from Trey Benson, right? He's going to be the dude for Florida State. They let Treshaun Ward walk this year, didn't really fight him in the transfer portal. So I think Benson's going to get 300 to 350 touches. Florida State's going to be playing a lot of prime time. If Benson puts it together, dude, he's going to have the chance to be a top 100 NFL draft pick. So definitely worthy of discussion and worthy of being mentioned in this mock draft episode. And one more player, and it's tough because I feel like there's another, 12 guys that could be in this discussion, but one more player here, and you get the honor of choosing the last guy that we talk about.
I'm going to close it out by betting on some traits at the tight end position, since we're got a tight end premium format here, and take Michael Trigg, the tight end from Ole Miss, formerly from USC. Hasn't really given us what we've hoped for thus far in his college career. It hasn't done a whole lot, hasn't been out there a whole lot, but still an athletic kind of position, an athletic player at a position that we know what sort of premium it has. No pun intended, given the tight end premium format. But if he could put it together late in round 2, I'm always okay with late in round 2 on gambling on traits and athleticism at tight end, given how kind of barren the landscape is at the pro level already.
Absolutely love it. 24 players that we have broken down here, giving you a little bit of an introduction to. You're going to want to make sure that they are on your radar when you're getting ready to watch college football this upcoming season, all eligible in the 2024 class. Anthony is putting out great work, great Devy resources for you over at Fantasy Pros, a weekly Dynasty podcast for the Rookie Big Board, his own podcast, the Dynasty Drive podcast, Dynasty, really overall all content over on the Dynasty Drive. Devy resources at dynastyleaguefootball.com. Appreciate you checking out the video. And like I said earlier, man, Drop the feedback in the comments. Roast us. We're ready to engage with it. And thanks so much for joining, man.
Thanks for having me.